Hello, welcome to practice. My name's Holly Saita, and we're here today for this class to learn drills and alignment to help us with strength and courage. And sometimes in partner acrobatic yoga, you'll learn that you need to fall or that you need to kind of like shake things up a little bit, and you'll need to be strong and courageous for when those times come. So that way we're all ready and we kind of like know what's coming. We're good for whatever's going to happen. So for today's class, what we're going to do is we're going to always begin centering the self, a little bit of a warm-up. This warm-up will be more playful, and we'll experiment and explore with different sort of things that we can kind of shake each other up in and maybe twirl each other up in and get a little fun, have a little fun with it, because partner yoga should be fun, most importantly, I think. So we're going to laugh a little bit this class and do some silly stuff, and then we'll pick each other up for some fun drills, learn some important things like we're going to isolate the wrist and we're going to isolate our core, and we're going to really explore what it's like to use the whole upper body and just the things that we use a lot in acro yoga, the parts of the body. We're going to really zone in on them today, and then we'll help cool them down later in a little stretch at the end of class. So starting seated in front of your partner, we're going to actually start today's class as always, just in a little seat, seated right in front of them in like a easy sit, easy sukhasana. And it's always nice, no matter what you're doing, no matter where you're at, where you're going, to just take a moment to just check in and roll out the shoulders. Shoulders can be one of the number one places that we kind of decide we want to store all of our attention as humans. We kind of carry the world on our shoulders. So how can we let that go right now? And just take a few moments to yourself and set a brief intention of the class. If you want to gaze your eyes shut, or if you'd like to gaze into your partner's eyes, depending on who your partner is, what you're here for, just noticing them in your space, taking a time to acknowledge their presence. After noticing yourself and how you're feeling and where you're at today, and put the two together and kind of set an intention for your practice. And note that sometimes it's fun to just get a little silly and play around, and that's really the essence of this practice, is to play and have fun. But how can we stay safe and grounded during the process? So we will learn today. So we're going to go ahead and start in a seat like so, bringing your feet in front of you. And we're just going to move right into some playful movements. We're just kind of going to wiggle side to side. And we're going to see if we can bring our feet to the floor like we're in a yogi squat. And we're going to feel a little bit of a tug forwards and backwards. And how can we just find a nice opening in the hips here, opening in the shoulders. You can revisit some of the partner poses you already know at this point. But today, the essence of the class is to just kind of introduce some small things, intricacies about the practice, and have some fun. So now let's start to do so. Find a nice solid grip. We're going to sit back, lean back in our squat, and we're going to see if we can take a real low squat, yogi malasana squat. Nice. See if we can breathe here and like round out through the spine and kind of lean away. So immediately we're finding this like tug of war kind of thing. You'll find a lot of the times in acro yoga, you got to like give and take your weight, and you can't be like, I want all of the attention. No, I want all the attention. Or I want all the weight. You got to find that balance. You got to find that easy in between. So for a counterbalance like this, you'll find that like I can just barely hover my butt off the floor and find a nice stretch and settle in this whenever we find we're counterbalancing each other evenly. It's easy to do that. So we're going to go ahead and actually bring the butt to the floor. We're going to switch up the grip. For the wrist grip, bring the knees together a little bit, and we'll come up for a little bit of a sit back into a chair pose. You can round out the spine at first. And then inhale, come forward, and then up. We're going to do a little bit of a fun movement, so bringing the hands together. We're going to see if we can come into each other for a little bit of push-up action. So finding your alignment here is always important, and your arms are straight. So we'll actually pause there and find that alignment and lean in towards each other. Like a plank, like a partner plank. We'll press into the palms, get the wrists nice and open. Nice. The wrists are really important. You want to feel this muscle all along the back of the wrist, playing around with each other. Beautiful. Pressing into the palms. Just taking a break here for a moment. And then we're gonna come back. We're gonna see if we can play around with this. Push away and then come back. See if we can push away and then come back. And then see if you can add some challenge. Just kind of flick each other off of each other. See if you can push the other one down, which you might do, and it's fine. It's good to have fun in this practice. Okay, so after a couple of these, you'll find your arms are getting nice and warm. So go ahead and take a shake. We're gonna do a decompression of the wrist, and we're gonna grab here, we're gonna lean away, and we're gonna come back down to our yogi squat. But now we're gonna find a fun frog hop yogi squat is what we call them. So you'll find oftentimes in AcroYoga, you're like hopping all over the place, and how can we like synchronize our breath and move with meaning and not just be like flailing around. So we're gonna see if we can actually move together in synchronicity even when things feel really happy. So we're gonna inhale, what we're gonna do is exhale all the breath. The next inhale, we're gonna jump up to the right. Inhale, jump up to the right. Inhale, jump up to the right. And you'll notice your arms are getting really tired, perhaps. Stay leaning away the whole time. How can we not keep the elbows bent? Stay leaning. Nice, one more. Cool, and just find yourself back in the middle of the mat and see again how you can be in that counterbalance the whole time. And the legs might feel really warm, and that's really important to get the legs warmed up for class. So we're gonna do it the other way, see if we can cross the opposite arm on top, just switching things up, breaking habits. Exhale all your breath. So during this practice, you'll find you'll wanna just jump on your own, but how can we jump together as a unit? So we're gonna inhale, exhale. Next inhale, jump to the left, exhale. Inhale, jump to the left, exhale. You'll find your frequencies might be kind of off. One might be jumping higher, one might be jumping lower, one might be stepping. Nice, and how can we do it one more time? And then come back to center and pause. And maybe they look a little bit more synchronized or whatever, floppy, it doesn't really matter. So we're gonna take a break here. Actually, just do a little twist. Opening up. And bring the opposite arm, take a twist. Oh. Beautiful. We're gonna introduce now, coming up all the way up to a tall spine. We're gonna introduce now a little forward fold. While we're doing a wide-legged forward fold, back to back, just to stretch out the legs a little bit. I'll go ahead and explain what we're gonna do next. So finding this forward fold, grabbing the wrist, and just kind of letting your head drape down and stretch out your legs. You might have gotten kind of tired during that exercise. So tightness is lightness in acrobatics. And I've said this before, maybe you peel the butts away and you lean away. And how can we trust each other? And then exhale, forward fold. And exhale, lean away, look forward, lean. Nice, and if one leans and the other doesn't, then the one falls. So how can we both lean? Nice, and come on up. So tightness is lightness in acrobatics, in acrobatic yoga, especially because whenever you're being held up in the air, you want to feel as light as you can for your base, so that way you're helping them kind of hold you. So what Nicole's going to do is she's going to assume, my partner here is going to assume a plank pose. So we're going to kind of try to shake things up a little bit for each other here. So if you need a modification for the wrists, you can be on your fists, but otherwise you're going to find your palms on the ground, and she's going to find her plank pose. So for the plank, I want to notice something here. Shoulders, hips, ankles, all in a line here. This is the plank, right? And then you want to find your shoulders, ankles, and wrists in a line as well. I'm going to see if I can kind of come back behind her. I'm going to grab one leg, and I'm going to grab the other. We're going to pause here. Maybe you try to shake her up, try to stay as tight as she can. They're going to try to stay super tight. We're going to try to knock them around, all around. See if you can just like offer challenge. And I'm going to see now one more thing. I'm going to try to drop this leg. She's going to keep it up if she can. I'm going to drop this leg, keep it up, tight. And maybe you switch it up on them. You don't know which one you're going to do. Play a game with them. Tightness is lightness, breathing in your plank. And then exhale, come down. Nice. Shake out the wrists. Kind of roll the shoulders out, shake it off. That can be kind of like a lot of these things we're doing are designed to build heat and strength in the body. And we're like introducing these things to our body before we come up and we fly and do them. So I'm going to now take the plank pose. I'm going to offer some even more challenge now. So if you'd like to bring your hands to the floor, and then a lot of the hands are really important whenever you're doing plank. So we're going to really grip the fingers towards the wrist, Tuck the toes back, find your alignment. She's gonna grab my ankles. So we can call this walking the dog, right? So I'm gonna stay here, and she can do the tightness drills. She drop one ankle, drop the other, try to switch it up on me. It doesn't matter because I'm just gonna stay tight and light in my body. I'm breathing. Nice. She's gonna bring my feet to her hips. She's gonna press her feet in. She's gonna walk towards me a little bit. And she can maybe walk me forward, come walk back. So I'm kind of initiating the movements, but she's leading my feet back behind me. Nice. If you want to practice this, level 3, push the hips up over the wrist and then come down and walk back. And do this a couple more times. Inhale, come up. Exhale, come down. Inhale, come up. Do this as many times, kind of like flossing the shoulders. Many times it feels good for you. One more time, maybe for me right now. You can also pause here. Maybe raise up one leg. Maybe raise up the other. Offering different techniques for us all to use. Come down. Beautiful. So that can feel a lot on the wrist. A lot of the times, acro yoga can be and yoga, I think in general, can be kind of a lot on the wrist. So we'll take a moment here to just help stretch each other's wrists out. And then how in the commotion of things, we're going to do a little exercise with the gaze. So for here, I'm going to actually switch sides. So for here, I want us to take a moment to kind of look into each other's eyes if we can. And we're going to keep the base of the wrists together. And we're going to see if we can do a little motion with the wrists. So keeping the base of the palms together, and then going in, and then out, and then around. Yeah, and just see if you can find that synchronized movement. We're also really kind of like isolating the wrist muscle here. Nice, keeping the base of the wrist together the whole time. Try not to overthink it, getting all weirded out. And yeah, nice, cool. And just kind of shake it out. Nice. We're gonna go ahead and move into a little bit of acro yoga. So for this, we're gonna try to do some different foot placements. We're gonna do some wonky walking on each other and stepping in different places and kind of moving up a level a little bit in our acro yoga practice, but all the while trying to remain synchronized with each other through these movements. So go ahead and find your one of your partners as the L base. So they're gonna take their lying down position. They're gonna bring their legs up towards the sky. And remember, you can just start here, finding your alignment, ankles, knees, hips, finding that 90, finding your stack. Really important. We're actually gonna do one more thing. We're still on the ground here. We're gonna come around. We're gonna see if we can grab each other's hands. So before coming up to fly, I want to introduce one more thing. So there's this grip that I'm doing here, and it's called a 2-2 grip. So the grips that you've seen so far, maybe perhaps if you've been following videos, it's like this, flyer's fingers forwards. We have this grip with the gripping of the fingers. We have the wrist grip. And now I'm gonna introduce this grip. So it's a 2-2 grip. So I have 2 fingers along the wrist, 2 fingers around the palm. This is a really good one for when we're doing arm balances or for when we're using a lot of the upper body strength, which we're gonna try to do today in this class. So we're just gonna see if we can just pause here for a moment. I'm gonna give a little bit of weight into my partner and see if that feels okay for them. They're pressing their palm into me, I'm pressing my palm into them. So let's talk about what we don't wanna do first. We don't wanna flatten out our wrist. That's totally disengaging the wrist muscle, and we don't want to do that. That's a no bueno in this practice, no good. So see if you can point the palms and see if we can keep steep wrist, right? When we start to some weight a little bit, it's a little different. And you feel, it's like you have to more activate it. You want to feel the whole palm pressing into each other's palms. A little bit of concaveness in the center of the palms. All right, and we're going to do a little bit of a drill. So I'm going to just do a couple of, you could call them chaturanga or push-ups, elbows in, inhaling, pressing away, exhale, pushing in. Nice. And now the partner can do that. See if they can bend the elbows and inhale, press you away. Nice. See if you can remain straight. Building that courage and trust that they're not gonna drop you. We're gonna do it now together if we can. We're gonna see if we can both bend the elbows and then inhale, press away. Really changes things up a little bit. Press the palm into each other, protect your wrist. Inhale, press up, maybe do one more or 10 more, pause the video. We're gonna go ahead and pause, and I'm just gonna do a little bit of wrist tug here. Shake it out, decompressing the arms. Oh, it's always find that nice balance between, passive, active, therapeutic, acrobatic in this practice. So it's always nice to sprinkle that in, but we will take some time at the end of class to do that. So I wanna go ahead and try to introduce now the drills that we can learn for stacking our bones. So go ahead and come in. You can do your legs presses if you'd like. We're gonna find our bird. Wherever you're at, find your bird pose. And for here, notice the arms are together, the arms are straight. This is where alignment is gonna become really important. We're gonna try to find that 3 points of contact, and I'm gonna sink weight into my left hip. She's gonna move her right foot down to the toes to my shin. Notice how this already changes the dynamic of your stretch. Notice here if you can just pause, maybe for a moment. And then maybe, if you want to lift up and move the other one down, notice how there's a lot more upper body strength here. And breathe here for 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. She can bring my feet to the floor, bend the knees, bring my feet to the floor. Look how easy that was. Really easy dismount. Okay, we're gonna try one more thing. We're gonna switch it up then. So go ahead and bring the base in. You can actually come back up that way, but we're not gonna do it right now. We're gonna come back the way we were. Finding here. Nice. So this one's designed for the lower core and the lower abdominal. So we're gonna see if we can actually go ahead and bring one toe down. I'll squeeze the hand of the foot that I want to bring down, just below the knee, or just close to the ankle. It really depends on where you're at. And then we're gonna see if we can mirror each other. Nice. And pause here for 3 points of contact. And then bring that foot here to the lower, and then do it on the other side. Pause and breathe. Lower abdominals engage. You can do these exercises if you want. Bring the foot back, and then bring the foot to the floor. Nice. So yeah, we're building some strength and heat here for sure. We're gonna introduce now a couple of poses where we bring foot to shin is what it's called. We're gonna go in and out of that. We're gonna do a drill from in and out of foot to shin. So for foot to shin, you bring the foot to the shin, the foot of the base's legs to the flyer's shin. And then this is gonna do a little bit of rocking. I'm gonna come in, out, in, and then up. And then I'm kind of in this like child's pose, almost, right? So let's do that again. She's gonna bring my feet to the floor. So in, out, in, up. So the first in and out is designed for us to calibrate. So that way we know kind of how fast the other person's going, and it's gonna set the pace for us jumping. This wasn't really a jump, but it can get more jumpy. So we're gonna bend the knees actually again. Let's do this a couple more times. Let's go in, out, in, and then up. Imagine kicking my butt to my heels. That's what I'm doing. If you want to pause here in your child's pose, you can do that if you'd like. If you feel comfortable enough to remove the hands, you can go for it. But now we're going to bring the hands back together. We're going to do a fun little thing called switching off foot to shin. So now I'm going to go to her shin. Nice. And see if you guys can remain strong in the wrist, strong in the upper body. Even though things are getting kind of twisty-turny here, we're stepping up and down and all around, how can we remain focused and know where our next step is, but also kind of just let the movements take over. A lot of the times in AcroYoga that happens. You just kind of move and let the movements take over. Nice. And then we're going to go ahead and pause, maybe on one side, and I can come to stand up. This feels like walking on a zip line almost, but I'm kind of standing here. I'm keeping my legs together. You can keep your hands together during this process too. You don't have to feel pressured to come up, coming down. Let's talk about where the toes are here. Her knees are up above her hips. My toes are just below her knee. She comes here, steps on my shin. I'm gonna come up, feeling tightness, his lightness here, and nice. So we'll do one more thing where she can actually bring this foot down and I can come to step on her shins. So this can be treated two ways as the base. She can really let me come in and bring it like a deep stretch, or she can really activate her legs, offer me some challenge by bringing her knees up and over her hips. She can kind of bicycle the legs side to side, and this kind of gives me wobbly grounds. This is one of those collaborations, one of those drills where we can kind of, trip each other up to kind of stay on the same pace. And then I can come down like so. Beautiful. And we're gonna switch it up, and I'll talk a little bit about what the base does, but if you wanna just offer a little bit of tug first, and then we're gonna switch and see how it goes with the other person as the base. All right, so first starting over here at the head of the base. So find your position at the head of the base, and we're gonna find that 2-2 grip. So 2 fingers around the wrist, 2 fingers along the wrist, 2 fingers around the palm. She's gonna find kind of a plank pose on me. And maybe this is enough. Maybe you're like, wow, I'm already feeling this. We can just stay here and I can breathe. Finding your plank muscles, fire up, your upper arms fire up, finding your stilts. Our arms are our stilts. Our arms are our stabilizers, help stabilize us during this practice. Now she can see if she can do some push-ups. Nice. Inhaling, exhaling. You want to see, sometimes the foundation tries to get wobbly, but that's okay. I'm going to see if we can regrip a little bit, and then I'm going to try to do it. And exhale, bend my elbows as far as I can, and then inhale, straighten them up. And then exhale, inhale, straighten them up. We'll go ahead and try to do this with the two of us at the same time, but it is hard, so let's see how it goes. Exhale, bend at the same time, and then inhale, straighten up. Let's do it one more time. Exhale, lean into me, plank pose, finding your stacks. And then inhale, straighten up. Nice. She's going to lean away with my wrists a little bit, do a little tug. Breathe into the arms, the shoulders. And we'll get in later to some really juicy therapeutic stuff for the arms. So don't worry about that for now. Now we'll go ahead and come to our fun drill with foot to shin. So bring the hands, fingers forward, doing your calibrations if you so choose. But now for this practice, we're going to see if we can find our 3 points of contact, sinking weight into this hip. I'm going to bring my toes down here. She's going to keep her legs straight. And then coming back, I'm going to bring my toe down. So this is what it might look like for more of a beginner base. I'm going to see if she can sink weight into this leg. And we're going to see if we can come to foot to shin. So she's going to bring her shin in and then sink the weight into that one. And coming down if you need to. And we'll introduce actually a different introduction to this. I think it's easiest. So one thing that was just displayed is us trying to get into a posture from one place when really it's easiest, like I had mentioned maybe in a previous video. Going to throne is another example of this. How can we just go directly into foot to shin? It's a little easier. It just cuts out some of the moving around too much. So I'm going to keep my feet on her shins. We're going to come in, out, in. She's going to kick her butt with her heels and up. Nice. And then we're going to come down. Yeah, with lightness if we can. So try not to throw our partner off. A lot of times as a base, you'll find yourself doing that. You'll find yourself just being like, oh, like get off. Or so how can we lightly place someone down? You know, how we pick them up lightly and put them down lightly, put them down lightly. Nice. Bring the hands together. So finding this calibration, this is a really important in, out, in, and up. Sweet. Let's do it one more time. I think this is really good work. So you in, out, in, then up. And pausing for a moment. Now we'll go from foot to shin. So she'll sink weight into one of my shins. I'll wiggle the toes, the one I want her to sink weight into. She'll step on my shin. Coming down. We're going to get into foot to shin from plank. So coming into your upward plank, and then I'm going to sink weight into this hip, and she's going to step onto this shin. Yes. And then the other one. Yeah. And we're here. So as the base, you can kind of relax, or you can activate by bringing them up a little bit, the knees up above the hips. I'm going to come down a little bit, and she's going to stand up. You can hold here as the base. You can hold the ankles in place as you raise them up a little bit. You can do your bicycling, pausing and breathing, standing up straight in your tall mountain pose here, and then bring the hands back down. Nice. And let's go forward. Let's go back and forth. So bring one foot to the other person's shin. So I'll squeeze. There we go. And then the other one. Yeah. And then the other one. Sweet. And we're going to go ahead and come on down. Beautiful. Just offer a little bit of tug. So how these drills aren't necessarily meant to look pretty. They're not poses. Poses are kind of different than drills in the sense that like a pose is we get the pose, we stick it, we breathe in it. But for the drills, it's really important for you to just kind of be able to have some fun with it and know that sometimes things don't always go as planned and they don't always look pretty and you can sometimes fall and twist and turn, and that's what we're doing. I want to introduce one more way to make this a little bit more advanced. So from here, as you remember, we were doing the walk your dog. That's what we're gonna do now in the air though. So whenever you had the person's feet on your hips, you walked forward from your plank and you walked the dog out, we're gonna kind of do something similar here. She's gonna keep her toes on my shins. I'm just gonna grab my hands, go in, out, in, and up. So I'm gonna see if I can straighten my legs. Whoop, she's gonna keep me above her chest, re-gripping a little bit, straighten the legs, and bend the legs. Straighten the legs, bend the legs. This is lower abdominal work for sure. Level 3, I would say, if you're feeling like you want a little bit more of a challenge. And then bring the feet to the floor. Nice. Beautiful. And we're just going to go ahead and leave our base on the floor for now, because what we're going to do is move into the cool down portion of class. So you can start by just bringing in their knees towards their belly and holding onto the wrist here. This is a good one for what we did today. So a lot of upper body, a lot of wrist strength, a lot of core strength today. All of these things, really the full body is important during AcroYoga and yoga in general, or just life for that matter. But we isolated some muscles today. We really turned them on. We really focused and honed in on some really key things that we use and we do, but we don't always redo and reuse over and over again. So that's what we did today. So for here, what I'm doing is I'm bringing in her knees towards her body, her wrists on her knees, and I'm kind of leaning away here. Nice. And then go ahead. And this is your portion of class to just totally relax. So we're going to move into that portion of the cool down assisted stretching, especially after kind of a flighty, more airier, all over the place class. You can find it kind of hard to settle your energy a little bit. So if you need to pause for a moment, feel free, but just find this time to kind of come back into your own space, relax, maybe take a little stretch yourself. I'm going to rub my palms together and just create some love and intention for what I'm about to do. Just giving some love to this person, this being that had played with me. We had so much fun today. We're going to bend the knee. We're going to bring them to a side lying position. So we're just going to push them over, lying the hips like so, and lying them on their side. Beautiful. So just finding your kneeling position behind them. And since today we did a lot of upper body, we're going to focus on the shoulders and the arms here. So just finding a nice little press of the arms. They're in a little bit of a supine twist, a little gentle twist at first, but now they're just in this side lying position. I'm going to come side to side. I'm going to find this kneeling position here now and see if we can grab their wrist. So we're going to do a little fish arm handshake. So it's really maybe harder to let go during a class like this or whatever, but finding that loose arm if you can. You know, sometimes people give you a fishy handshake. This is okay. This is when it's okay. We're going to drape the arm over, see if we can find our palms interlaced on the top of their shoulder and do some nice shoulder rolling for them. We're going to sit up nice and tall in our own bodies as we do this and breathing. And then finding both directions. Maybe you find one direction is a little stickier than the other, no judgment. I'm just kind of moving them and holding and homing their shoulder between my palms. I'm going to offer a nice tug, opening up at the side of the neck. Maybe you just want to give a little bit of assistance here, a little bit of love here, the base of the palm. Try not to skin burn them if you can, avoiding that. Maybe tracing the back of their shoulder blade in an L shape with your hand. You can kind of spider finger the back of the back. Nice. And just offer a little tug. And then you can lean and pause for a moment. You can also find a nice stretch in your own neck as you do this. So they're stretching out the left side of their neck. You can stretch out the right side of your neck or the left side of your neck. And just take a deep breath here. Nice. We're going to come to do some work on that palm. So the palms are really important in AcroYoga and in general. Our hands do so much for us, so we're going to give back to the palm. So we're going to have the palm face towards us. And we're going to kind of find a little bit of the breaking of the bread is what we can call it. On the front of the wrist and on the back of the wrist. And maybe you put your pointer finger and your thumb around the wrist and kind of squeeze. Offer some, your middle finger, offer some, we call it vasostriction is what's happening with the veins whenever we do things like this, when we squeeze and release. And the veins are kind of doing this vasostriction thing. We're getting fresh blood pumping to that area to help it release and heal. We can also do a little bit of what we call like a hand wrist job here. Just flapping the wrist side to side, finding the base of your palm on either side of the base of their palm, and just do a nice little wiggle. Nice. And then pausing and coming back up. And we're just going to gently bring them over to the other side. Nice. Bring them through a supine twist on the way. Make sure their arms are out of the way. Lay them on the opposite direction. Finding their hips stack. And we're just going to find a nice little gentle press here on the shoulder and on the wrist and on the whole arm. Anywhere but the elbow. The joints are very gentle things. We don't want to put too much pressure on them. They take a lot during this practice. Okay, so we're just going to pause and again, first finding that fish arm, if you can, find that fish handshake. Nice loosey-goosey in the arm. And when we're ready, just draping the pit of their arm over the pit of our arm. Again, during these portions of the class, during these cool down portions, I get to talk a little bit about what it's like to give. As the receiver, you're just receiving, but I will switch in a moment and then we'll get a chance to hear what the receiver should be feeling, what it should feel like for them. But now we're just going to go ahead and find the back of the shoulder. And always at any point you can communicate what that feels like to you. This practice is open to communication. We're here exploring it together. So go ahead and find that L shape in the shoulder blade. Lots of knots like to hide back here underneath the shoulder blade. Some people's are easier to locate than others. So just Maybe finding your fingers nice under there if you can. Wedging your fingers underneath there gently, lovingly. And then we're going to pause. And take a nice deep stretch of the neck ourselves. If we can just dip our head to the left or to the right. Take a moment to just pause and breathe into these muscles that we've been activating. And letting them let go now. And as the receiver, how can you think about what it feels like for you? What do these movements feel like for you? And we're going to take a few shoulder rolls while we pause here. And I'm homing the shoulder in my palms. But how can you note how these feelings come up in your body and how everything feels for you? And hold on to that, and then maybe remember that whenever you are giving. Because perhaps the same things feel better to you, or the same things don't feel so great to you. Nice. And then pausing here. We're going to do some palm work. So we did a lot with the hands today, introduced a lot of gripping, but we're not gripping anymore. So just let go as the receiver. As a giver, I'm just going to explore breaking up the bread on either side of the wrist. So it just looks like this, our thumbs together, and kind of finding this nice bread breaking motion. Pumping fresh blood to these areas. Self-love is good. Self-massage is good as well. So if you don't have your partner prop here with you, doing these motions to yourself is always really useful. Our hands get really overworked. So giving back to the palms, maybe going up each finger, giving them nice little tugs. There's little joints located in the fingers as well that we want to give back to. Nice. And doing whatever you did, exploring all of it, if not more, on this side that you did on the other side. And we're going to actually ask our receiver to now go on their belly. And then we're going to pull them up and back to a child's pose. So all the way back. Nice. And see if they can pause here in their child's pose. Offer some pressing down on the sacrum, down towards the heels. And then give them a nice raise up. And just going side to side on the shoulders real quickly. And then if you want to take this moment, just kind of shampoo out the head, give them a couple minutes to themselves. If you want to pause, that's cool. But we are going to switch a little bit. And for a few minutes, she's going to give to me. And I'm going to bring up some intricacies, some specifications about what it feels like in your body to receive these movements. So if you want to just come to lying on your side immediately, that's cool. You can find a pillow or whatnot. They're going to kneel back behind you. And then finding the shoulder, they're going to see if they can just press down first on the arm. So whenever people are pressing down on your muscles, it helps bring, when we move in general, when we do yoga in general, it helps bring lactic acid back to them. So you want to find some good squeezing. And if she sits up, she can just lean into straight arms rather than muscling through, but you can do either or. And then go ahead and find that grip on the shoulder, the top of the shoulder. Find the fish handshake first. Kind of shake out the hand. And see if you can just be held as the receiver. Just give yourself to them. How can you just be loose and let go? They're going to interlace their palms on the top of the shoulder and see if they can pull back. So I want to feel a nice opening in my neck here. I want to avoid any sort of kinkiness here in the neck. If you want to move your neck in and out to feel where those kinks are, we can just kind of breathe into them, but we don't want to feel any pain at any point. We always want to approach tension. You know, that's fine to bring attention and tension, feel that tension, but never pain. So if you're noticing if anything's not sitting with you well as they do the shoulder rolls, you can just communicate that it's no good for you and go the other way. And just pausing, and as they explore back behind your shoulder blade with their fingers, And just taking some deep breaths here. Finding the palm and offering some love to the palm, so breaking of the bread. And how can you as a giver remember how it felt for you and what felt good for you and what didn't feel good for you? So the hands getting their love back, squeezing the wrist. I want to feel if I can let go in my wrist during this next exercise. She's going to bring the base of her palms to either side of my hand, and she's going to wiggle and see if she can wiggle my wrist and see if she can get it really loose, actually. Yeah. And I'm going to see if I can just let go of my wrist. So oftentimes people find themselves holding and controlling motion like we've been doing all class long, but how can we just let go and give ourselves to them? Sweet. We'll repeat it on the other side as I come to flip around. And now you can kind of notice what's going on in the back of the body during this process. But you want to find the fish handshake and pressing first. Try to give all the same love that you did on one side to the other. Also, as the receiver of this practice, it's important to note that it's not always the same. Our bodies are totally asymmetrical, and that's all right for us to feel different on each side. I'm going to interlace the palms, draping the elbows over each other, and see if you can just relax here. You maybe move your neck in and out. Maybe the giver stretches their neck as well as you pause for a moment. Nice. And then when we're ready, finding the palm in the back, trying to get around to everything and see if you can really put the fingers underneath the scapula, the shoulder blades. Maybe not so easy on some of us. That's okay. And then squeezing the palm, front and back, breaking the bread. And then find fish hand. Flop the fish. If you can try to get a really loose wrist here. I'll go ahead and as a receiver, I'm just going to come to my belly and push up to my child's pose as they come to press onto my child's pose. And you can try to do everything, explore all the movements, the same movements that they did to you. We're going to drag them up from the shoulders, pressing down on either shoulder. Beautiful. You can do a quick shampoo or whatever feels good. Pausing again at the end of these portions of classes if you'd like to give your partner just a chance to kind of settle into that feeling of euphoria, let all the benefits soak in of the practice. But that will conclude our practice, always closing with a quick acknowledgement of one another, bringing the palms wherever resonates for you, and just bowing to one another. The light in me honors the light in you. Just noticing and honoring each other. My name is Holly, and thank you so much for practicing with us again today, and we'll see you again soon.